Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Nexus Inspector 150 here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can see the chopper flying over the track. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic day for a motorsports event. We're just waiting on our co-commentator to jump up into the booth here. He was just out there getting some practice in, so he has an idea of what the car's going to be like when we do go to the race. So let's go and focus on some people and see what everyone is up to. By the sounds of it, we're getting ready for a pit party. Kick things off with here. You see the 50 of Christian Bud there, the 4 of Jaron Sanchez let us off the pit lane. We'll see all the cars and drivers getting formed up here in just a second. Find out who's going to be the person starting on pole. Looks like it might be Christian. So far we only have 21 signed up for the race. 23 if you include myself and my broadcast assistant. And we're off and racing here for the pit party for the Nexus Inspector 150 here from Atlanta. Christian Bud with a kind of timid start there, not really pulling away from Jaron at all, but Jaron's now slotting in right behind him. Take up that draft. That's going to leave Blake Trawick out to dry. Coming out of turn 4, it looks like everything is as it should be at the moment. No one looks like they've crashed out at all. Gonna focus on crashes and have a look through the field. This is kind of like a form guide for the race. See where everyone's at speed-wise. So we can see from the background there, Thomas Harmon trying to power his way through the field, starting from the back. We're currently looking at Cosman Ionescu. That's right, I found out how to pronounce his name. We see the 7 of Brian Harris getting real close to the front end of the 20 car there of Derek Myers. Like a couple of people getting a little bit loose here in the draft coming off turn 2. Which is actually quite the surprise because the car is very tight when you're by yourself going around the track. The 81 of Corey Williamson, the 1 of Brandon Bennett on screen. And we're back at the 7 of Brian Harris, who has Thomas Harmon right behind him. And the 84 of Aspen Belvin right in front of him. Oh, and Aspen gets very loose going into turn 3. Can he save it? He's all the way down on the apron. And he drifted all the way into pit lane. That was well held and well saved. Too bad in the race, that would be a fairly major penalty for speeding in the pits. Thomas Harmon now absolutely hounding the back of Brian Harris, while we've also got Derek Myers trying to hound the back of Ionescu. Thomas pushing Harris into the corner, trying to get his nose underneath to take the low lane away. Can he do it coming off turn 2? Looks like he can. Thomas is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the race. 20 of Derek Myers looking like he wants to try and make an outside move work here on Ionescu. And Derek Myers has gone biffo bango out of the game-o. Let's just back that up and see what happened to him here, because that was weird. Possibly a little bit of netcode there. Just straight into the wall. Nice airtime though, he got over the top of the catch fence. We see Ionishu is also back in the pits now. And now iRacing's finally redirected its focus to other people. And now it's time for us to introduce our co-commentator here, Matt Burgess. Welcome back into the booth. We know you went out and did some practice laps. How'd the car feel for you?
Yeah, I'm glad I did that. Last time we were here in these cars, before the tire model and some of the changes they made, I mean, they absolutely stuck to the track and you just zoomed around. These cars, they push quite a bit, and you aren't full bore through the corners, and there's going to be a lot more tire wear than it was before, so this should be a pretty interesting race.
Interesting indeed, as we've seen a couple of instances here in the pit party of people getting loose in the draft, which is not something I thought we would see, considering how tight the cars were feeling, you know, by themselves earlier. How are these drivers going to try and manage going from loose to tight constantly throughout the run, if that is the case?
Well, I didn't get that, but I didn't have anyone come up behind me, you know, and ride right on that, or right on the inside or anything like that. So if that's the case, you know, they should get used to it pretty quick if they can catch it. It's gonna be tough to deal with it. If you're behind someone, you tend to push a little bit more to the outside from the arrow push, and then if somebody's run underneath you a little bit on the back bumper, it sounds like it gets loose. So I guess for the drivers that are used to handling these cars and with a loose type of driving, they might be okay on it. If you can do both, if you can handle both, you know, a tight car and loose at times, it should be a good run for you. But generally, for me, I'm more of a, if it's a tight car, I tend to drive a little bit better. The loose side, it's nerve-wracking when it's loose.
Now this is the last week of your self-imposed suspension. Next week we're going to what I think is one of the better tracks on the schedule. I'm so bitterly disappointed that it's not the final race of the season anymore. Homestead Miami. Some say that it's cookie cutter track, modelled after the way that, you know, Atlanta used to be. What's your opinions on Homestead?
I like Homestead. I've always had pretty good success there. I haven't driven it in these cars the way they're set up now, so I am curious to see how they handle there. Hopefully the arrow push there isn't quite as bad, because the last time we were there again, if you couldn't get past someone within their first 5 laps, you're pretty close on speed. It was really difficult to stay with them and get enough speed to get by them. So I'm hoping that that's a little bit different now, where you're not kind of stuck on the one line and the arrow push is so bad that you can't really get enough speed to get by them.
Alright, well thank you very much. Now let's start focusing on, you know, what's going on track. We've just seen Christian Budd and the 24 of Frank Isaacson going into practice for pit road entry. Christian Budd currently top of the timetables with a 29.842. Currently P2, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Clayton Ward, the 44, is third. Jaron Sanchez, league owner and operator, running his number in P4, with Michael Sturgill in the 90 car in 5th. So looks like we've got some fairly close times here. The top 8 separated by less than a tenth, with ninth only being a .108 behind our leading time at the moment. So very close times up and down the field so far.
Yeah, initially with the new tires, the car's pretty stable, so I expect the times to be really close, but it doesn't take that many laps before they start wearing, and the guys are used to managing them and getting around here fast. The pack should start to separate fairly quickly.
Well, we can only hope, and we hope that they can make it exciting while it does happen, because that race last week that we had was definitely one for the books. It's interesting. It was a bit of drama, and you know, we even squeezed in a fairly long green flag run there.
Yeah, last week we had it all. It was a good race. This week, we'll see. I think there might be some issues with the wall coming off of turn 2. 4, maybe. I don't see that quite as much. But I'm hoping for a fair amount of passing going on here instead of just kind of a follow the leader.
Well, follow the leader is definitely what we don't want to see, and we've had a recent update to the time standings. Jonathan Hernandez taking over the top spot with a 29.826 as we see a huge wreck going on the back straight here. Garen Sanchez, Brian Harris, and Thomas Harmon all involved. Didn't see what transpired there, but that definitely looked like it may have been a cause and effect of getting too tight in turn 2. Now we see Derek Myers on the screen. He's got the 1 of Brandon Bennett and 50 of Christian Budd right behind him. Brandon Bennett currently 10th with the 20 of Derek Myers up in 3rd. Christian Budd in P2. These guys are pushing the limits, running 3 different lines coming through turn 3 and 4. Derek running the higher line, Brandon Bennett running the mid line, and the 50 of Christian Budd running the low line there. Derek now runs the high line to let these two go past, because I think he wants to see... Oh! He has a little bit of contact with Christian Budd. Now they have a crash coming off of turn 2. Christian Budd all the way down to the inside wall. Derek Myers finally made contact with the inside wall after a little bit of waiting there. But I think you're right, Matt. I think turn 2 might be a bit of a danger zone here, especially with how tight the cars can get on a long run. And, you know, just people checking up to try and stay off the wall and catching other people unaware could provide some very dangerous action there coming off of the turn 2.
Yeah, like Las Vegas here, if you catch the wall here, a lot of times it'll bounce you towards the inside and there's someone down there. You tend to collect them. So I know every time I race at Atlanta in Las Vegas, I'm always watching that turn 2 and, you know, trying to guess if that person's going to clear the wall or not if they get up there too high. Really, if you're experienced enough, you know you're going to hit the wall. You'll try to keep it up against the wall. But sometimes it just bounces weird and off you're running, and hopefully you don't hit anyone.
Well, that would be the hope, because the last thing you want to do is ruin your own race, including someone else's. But that is just one of the dangers of running around a fairly high banked 1.5 oval with a tight setup. Everyone's running the same thing as far as setup is concerned, so these cars should all be fairly similar. It's all down to the driver's skill with who's going to take advantage and where. We can see the 38 of Thomas Harmon on screen. We just dropped back to Michael Sturgill in the 90 car. Sturgill has been showing some pace lately, just unfortunately getting caught up in a few incidents in the last couple of races, Matt.
Yeah, that's I guess we've had a few of our drivers that, you know, they've had decent pace and you get caught up in something and it ruins the race. But you would would think that at some point their luck will turn around and they'll get going again. Sturgill has definitely had good pace, so if he can get a clean race here, good to see what he does. If it's a longer run, actually get to see what he does too on with a good car and see what he does with his tires.
Going just to the car in front of him, Thomas Harmon, we didn't see too much of him at Phoenix. A little bit hard to pass there, and he elected to start towards the back. Do you reckon Thomas will be looking for some bigger and better things here this week?
It's definitely going to be if they're long green flags, which I mean we've done in Atlanta before. We've done like 1 caution, 0 cautions. So if it sticks with that formula, tires will be a huge issue, and Thomas is really good at saving his tires.
Indeed he is. He's probably one of the best drivers we have in the league for saving tyres. He's tucked right up the back of the 7 of Brian Harris right now. Harris fresh off of a debut in Road to Pro here on iRacing. Although I don't know why, because he's only managed to get 1 podium with us. But that 1 podium that he's got's definitely given him some momentum. He's been towards the top 10 for most of the time lately, Matt.
Yeah, he's another one to I guess watch a little bit and see. Tends to self errors where you get caught up or push a little too hard. So he tends to be a hard runner in the beginning. So I'm kind of curious to see how he does with if his tires fall. If he pushes so hard, his tires fall off quick. But he's had speed at times. I mean, he's passed me before in races, so I know he can get the line down and get going good. But there's a lot more to it than just foot to the floor and go.
Indeed there is, especially around here at Atlanta. You can't actually go full throttle around the entire lap. I found myself having to lift quite a bit in turn 1 and 2. And even a very small amount in the early laps in 3 and 4. So that could play an effect here in the race. How much you lift, because that will determine how much tyre wear you're going to have, like how much you're burning off that right front. And if we do get a long green flag run here, Matt, we could possibly see our first ever blowout happen on track.
Oh, definitely. These tires can wear down fast if you push hard. I ran, I think, about 19 laps really hard, and I already had my tires down into the low 70s. I actually had the left front, I think, close to 70. It was like 80, 81. So I was scrubbing those front tires quite a bit, but that was pushing hard and through the corners. And if these guys do that, they're going to be in for a rough day.
Indeed they will, as we saw Devin O'Brien Harris there coming down the pit road practicing a pit entry on old worn tyres. He had 13 laps on the tyres, so they're not that old, but they're old enough. See the 5 of Mark Pentecoff coming to a quick stop there on the apron. Christian Budd still on. Oh, go ahead.
Pit road would be a tough one with green flag. I did it twice, and both times I came in way too hot and couldn't slow down quick enough. Even with 10 lap old tires, they slide quite a bit. So green flag big stops. Looking forward to those. Hopefully we get them.
Well, it looks like pit exit is also going to be a point of contention as well. The 38 of Thomas Harmon spinning out, coming off the pit road there on the apron. It's definitely one of the harder aprons to try and drive hard on. Drivers having to manage the throttle coming around before they can come back onto the track on the back straight there, Matt.
Yeah, I actually spun it, I think once. You have to be a little careful. If you can get onto that, right next to that white line right around, it's got a little bit of banking to it, so that helps. If you stay in that flat, you really got to wheel it to keep from spinning it. So we'll wait and see. I think I got up to third, but that was pretty much coming to the blue cone by the time I shifted third. So hopefully everyone manages it, because with the way this track is, you could lose it trying to get back on the track and actually go back in the traffic.
Exactly right, mate. And that's why this is probably one of the more dangerous pit exits that we do have here in the Output Racing League. As we can see the 19 of Matt Horton going underneath the one of Brandon Bennett. Actually coming to pit road there, so he's practicing a green flag stop as well. Brandon Bennett currently down in 13th in the time standings with a 29.938. 1.3, 0.132 of a second off the leading time by Christian Budd, who has retaken the lead with a 29.806. Currently, right now, it looks like Christian and Jonathan just trading top times at the moment. You reckon these guys are just trying to have a pissing contest?
I think it's when they're catching the track, because I see the tracks drop down to 104. When Jonathan set his time, it showed it still at 108. So with the cool off, Christian managed to jump back ahead. So I think it will just be depend on like track conditions at the time when they both run it.
Well, that's very true. Shadows of this cloudy day will affect the
And
track temp a little bit here.
Jonathan just took the first spot back.
And he's done it with a 29.759.047 of a second faster than Christian Budd's time. The top three separated by less than a tenth. With .082 back is Matt Horton with a 29.841. These guys are definitely trying to keep it very close, keeping each other honest. And it's really good to see that these guys are stepping up and putting out some pretty good times. But overall, just having a look down to Travis Elliott, down in 21st position, and he's done a 30.146. He's only 0.387 of a second off the leading time. So realistically, the times around here, Matt, are very close throughout the entire field.
Yep, like I said, initially they're going to be pretty close. When I did my runs, I noticed, boy, you get into that 10 to 20 lap range, and there's actually quite a bit of a drop off from your qualifying times or your first couple lap times. But again, that'll come down to tire management. You get past that 20 to 30 range, those guys that save their tires are going to be quite a bit faster than those guys that burn them off in the first bit of the race.
I'm just hearing from one of our pit reporters right now that Chris Champeau is at the track, but he seems to be having some troubles with getting his car through inspection. So we'll have to wait and see how that will unfold for the race. It'll be a tragedy if he can't race, because Chris Champeau has been showing some absolutely excellent pace lately, Matt.
Yes, and he hasn't had the bad luck of getting caught up in a lot of wrecks like it was last season. It seemed like anytime there was a wreck, it was around him, so he got caught up in it. So it's good to see him having success this season.
Well, we'll just have to sit here, wait, and hope that he can get his car through inspection, because the last thing we want is to lose one of our vastly improving drivers. As we see Mark Pentecoff on the screen right now, making his way into turn 3, coming in behind Thomas Harmon. Pentecoff down in 17th at the moment with a 29.957. In fact, make that 16th, because Matt's time doesn't count. So Mark is doing pretty alright for himself here as well. We're used to seeing him at the back, but he's definitely improved time-wise.
Yeah, it was a bit unusual to see him struggle a bit at Phoenix, but like I said, that track is a little more, I guess, challenging, especially with the new low downforce package. So it didn't suit him. So I expect to have him see him decent pace here. Mid pack, maybe if he's gets a handle on it, and it's good with his tires, and you can be up there, in that top 10. So. But definitely Mark is, when I started, he's definitely improved quite a bit from when I started.
Indeed he has, and it's good to see. Hopefully he can try and get up there and maybe get himself a podium one of these days, because I reckon that'll be the day the roof will definitely fly off whatever track we're at. having a look at who's on track right now. I can see the 13th place, number 48 car of Iona Shoe on track. We didn't see Iona Shoe last week, but he's definitely going to be one of the new guys to look out for, showing a lot of pace in the little amount of racing that he's done with us so far, Matt.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, when we added these new guys, we knew they should have decent speed based on what we saw with their history as far as our racing. So it's just a matter of seeing how they race with the other guys and whether they make some rivalries or friends.
Well, that is always the ultimate question when you bring in a new guy. Are they going to be a friend or are they going to be an enemy? And at the moment, I don't think Iona Shoe would have been making too many enemies. But damn, he has been pretty quick, being there or thereabouts for the first couple of races. Not sure why he had to miss last week at Phoenix, but we're glad to see him back nonetheless.
I see Justin's in the server now. Evan Rice, Keith Calhoun. Some of these guys that haven't run a lap yet that, should have good speed.
We have 24 times on the board, and we have 28 cars registered to race. As I said, it's just pending that they can get through inspection and get their cars on track. Chris Champeau is one of those waiting to see if he can get past inspection. So, big waiting game right now, but for now, guys, we are going to go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to be showing you guys the grid for the Nexus Inspector 150 here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty guys, we are back. It's time for us to start setting the grid here for the 150 Nexus Inspector 150 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And starting off the pole, we are going to be having the 50 car of Christian Budd. On his outside will be the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Starting out of P3 will be the 48 of Cosman Ioneshu. And starting on his outside will be the 19 of Matt D. Horton. Starting out of 5th will be the 14 car of Keith Calhoun, with Evan Rice in the 42 car on his outside. Starting out of P7 will be Michael Sturgill in the 99 and in the 90 car, and on his outside will be the 13 of Travis Massia. We'll have Derek Myers in the 20 out of 9th, the 7 of Brian Harris out of P10, the 21 of Brian Chambliss will be out of 11th. League owner and operator, the 4 of Jaron Sanchez will be starting from P12. The 5 of Mark Pentecoff will be out of 13th. The 24 of Frank Isaacson will be out of 14th. The 1 of Brandon Bennett will be out of 15th, and Brandon Bennett and everyone in front of him will be eligible for the Hard Charger Award. Everyone else is not. The 84 of Aspen Belvin will be starting out of 16th. The 69 car, but 20 on track of Justin Botello will be out of 17th. The 91 of Philip Kraus will be out of 18th. Jordan Lee in the 47 will be out of 19th. Thomas Harmon in the 38 out of 20th. The 17 of Christopher Spencer will be out of 21st, with the 99 of Dustin German out of 22nd. The 51 of Travis Elliott will be out of 23rd, with the 18 of Brian Beach out of 24th. 25th will be the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi, and last but not least, the 81 of Corey Williamson will be out of 28th. We're still unspoken for as far as Blake Trawick and
Blake
Chris
looks like
Champeau.
he missed the grid, but it looks like they got the car running. Chris Champeau looks like he's still having some technical issues, so he's maybe joined the race later. They might just pull the.
So Blake Trawick obviously having some issues getting the car started there. Going to be starting off the pit road. So we're going to have 27 cars to take the start of this race, with Blake being in the pits. We're coming out of turn 4. Pace car is going to make his way to the pits. And we are off and racing here for the Nexus Inspector 150 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And already it looks like a fairly even start by our 2 leaders here. But the inside line with Christian Budd is having the advantage coming through turns 1 and 2. Right on his tail is going to be the 19 of Matt Horton, Matt.
Yeah, I expected the inside line to have an advantage since we get with that outside. You have to be a little bit careful with the fresh tires, although these aren't, like the Xfinity car where it gets really loose. But yeah, they should settle in quick here and hopefully see some good action.
Now we're seeing a lot of 2-wide action throughout the field, which is, as we got 1 going around already, we've got 2 going around already. The 7 of Brian Harris was involved in that. I think the 21 of Brian Chambliss was as well. I'm pretty sure the league owner and operator, the 4 of Jaron Sanchez, might have been involved. Slow this up as we're coming off of turn 2. Brian Harris running that high line. And a big netcode contact there with the 21 of Chambliss. And because of that checkup, the 4 of Jaron Sanchez nowhere to go. Brian Harris hard into that inside wall. All 4 tires off the track. And then he spins back onto the racing service, the 21 of Brian Chambliss, with just some slight contact there on the inside wall. Definitely not the way we wanted to see this race begin here, Matt.
Definitely not. Looks like Brian Harris just got on that outside and it was pushed towards the wall, and he had to check up a little bit, and probably caught Brian Jameis a little bit unexpected at this point of the race, and then of course the net code happened.
As we're seeing a lot of cars already coming into the pits. We've only got 8 that stayed out on track, which is really crazy. But the one person that this has definitely benefited, Matt, is Blake Trawick, who managed to stay on the lead lap due to that caution coming out so quickly.
Yeah, definitely fortunate for him. Now he'll be able to catch up with the pack. I haven't checked to see if he was one of those that stayed out. It would make sense for him to stay out and jump back in towards the front of the field.
I can confirm he has come into pit. But yeah, only 8 cars stayed out on the track there. Cosman Ionishu should be the first car with fresh tyres. No, everyone has fresh tyres right now. Chambliss and Harris still sitting in the pit lane getting some repairs done. So we did mention that turn 2 was probably going to be the danger area here, Matt, and it's already proving to be true.
Yeah, that's the big thing on turn 2. Even if the person doesn't hit that outside wall, if they have to check up at those speeds, if you're close enough to them, or if you're coming off that corner, you can't slow down far enough to keep from pushing up into them.
So we still have all 28 cars on the lead lap. It is excellent to see. Your order is going to be Christian Budd, Matt Horton, Jonathan Hernandez, Evan Rice, Keith Calhoun, Michael Sturgill, Travis Massia, and Mark Pentecoff as your top 8 who did not pit. But Derek Myers, who took 2 in 9th, and Ionishu in 10th. Frank Isaacson in 11th, Belvin in 12th, Harmon in 13th, Darren Sanchez in 14th, Dustin German 15th, Christopher Spencer 16th, Brian Beach 17th, Clayton Ward 18th, Elliott 19th, Jordan Lee in 20th, with Williamson, Trawick, Fizikemi, Botello, Krause, Bennett, Harris, Chambliss in 28th. And in the pits, Chambliss getting some more repairs done there, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at his car, it looks like he came out the worst than Brian for that accident.
It looks like the lights are out on the pace car, so we're going to be going back green this time. Nice quick caution, as it seems that we've got a little bit of drama unfolding here, as everyone was catching the pack. A slow car on the infield, and I think several cars involved there. Or the 18 of Brian Beach possibly involved, and also possibly the 17 car, I think, or the 99 car of Dustin German was involved in all that. Definitely some crumpled noses there on some Mustangs with the 99 of Dustin German, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like Derek had some issues and it checked up the field, and it accordioned in back behind Frank and Tom. So Thomas actually has some rear end damage.
Alright, well, we're back underway right now. The 50 of Christian Budd getting an excellent restart there, being as though he could control the start. And this has actually been a godsend for Jonathan Hernandez as well, who restarted from P3, running that inside line. He's going to take second place back away from Matt Horton, who's actually slipped back to 4th now behind Evan Rice, as we go 2 by 2 for the 4th position, with Evan Rice and Keith Calhoun battling it out. Calhoun with the inside line. Looks like he's going to take the advantage and take away that 4th position from Matt Horton. And it looks like Horton's going to battle back on the inside here as they come out of turn 2. Can he get his nose up there? Not quite. And he's got Michael Sturgill right behind him as well, applying some pressure. So this is where the racing's going to start getting real already, apparently. These guys racing pretty hard for their top 5 positions, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like even Jonathan is pushing the leader, pushing Bud. These guys want to get some positions. They want to get them now.
Well, the best time to make up position is when the field is all packed in tight and everyone's on fresh tyres. Because that's when you have the best advantage to try and make some magic happen, so to speak. On older tyres it can be a little bit harder because it's just not enough grip, Matt.
Yeah, it depends, on the strategy. If you're going to be waiting and try to save those tires and expecting long green runs, you might let people go by. But it looks like the outside is not the place to be. I see Mark Prunningcuff, he's got caught on the outside, and it's just basically a train going by on the inside. He just doesn't have an opportunity to get down.
And it's not just that, Cosmin Ionescu, who was first car on 4 tyres, has also dropped all the way back, being stuck on the outside behind Mark. So that outside, definitely not rubbered in enough to try and make any moves up there. But we also seen not many pit parties were going on, so that could have contributed to that fact. Mark Penticuff still staying up high there, even though Ionescu left a little bit of a gap for him there, Matt.
I think at this point, Mark is taking a little bit easy, and he's willing to stay up there. Maybe he's working on saving his tires right now.
As we go and look quickly just ahead of these guys, we can see the 56 of Blake Trawick battling it out with, I think that is the 84 car of Aspen Belvin. Aspen is actually looking quite strong there on that outside line. He's not exactly letting Trawick get his way here on the inside line, Matt.
No, he's definitely battling. I'm not sure how that's going to affect his tires, being on that outside line and having to have that kind of speed to stay around. So that, well, Blake just passed him now, but that's always the worry. There is you get stuck on that outside early, and how much you're going to burn your tires up trying to keep that guy or try to stay up with him. Generally, this early, if I get someone on the inside that's pretty fast and it's a track that like this, it's going to burn your tires. I tend to let him go if there's, unless there's like 6 people below him, and maybe you do want to fight, so you don't lose a ton of positions.
Speaking of losing a ton of positions, Dustin German's just dropped from 11th to 14th in the space of half a lap. I'm not sure what's happened to him, Matt, but he's just fallen back to just in front of these guys. Possibly engine issue with that accordion effect that we saw happen under the caution there. Oh, yeah, we got another car going around. It is the 19 car of Matt Horton. Pretty sure that involved the 20 of Derek Myers. We'll have to go back and have a look. But Matt Horton getting very loose off the corner. Michael Sturgill getting very loose. Even the 20 car there getting very loose. We're going to have to back this up a little bit more. Look at it from another angle.
Turn 2, he just pushed into the wall.
So all 3 of them into the wall, possibly. No, it's just Sturgill and Horton that got into the wall. Myers somehow managing to stay off the wall, but when Horton was coming back up the track, he just had nowhere to go, coming across the nose there of Derek Myers, and Derek just pushing him around because there's nothing else that he could possibly do there. Derek's got to get back up to his position. And that's all she wrote for that one there, Matt.
Yeah, looking back at Justin German, he's the one that got into the back of Thomas, so he's got some front end damage. I almost wonder if maybe he was having some overheating issues or getting, was getting hot. That on these initial runs where you run to the red line on the engine, it might have been causing him some issues.
Everyone has come in and pit this time. There's absolutely no one left on track. So everyone's going to be on fresh tyres for this restart. It's just a question of whether we're going to see maybe some two-tyre stops here, Matt.
Yeah, I practiced some two tire stops just to see, after 5 laps, there wasn't a huge difference. After 15 laps on the left sides and put rights on, it was a little loose, maybe for half a lap, but then it kind of came in. It's not as fast as 4 tires, but it's pretty close. So, two tires isn't nearly as dangerous as here as it was in at Phoenix.
And just having a look through our list, I don't think anyone's actually taken two tyres. And in fact, we did have one person who seems to have not stopped, and that is the one car of Brandon Bennett. Currently in front of the pack, but on 13 lap old tyres here, Matt.
Oh, he'll stop. He's doing his bonus point run here.
Well, every point does count, and he would have ran through the pit lane, so he would have the opportunity to do it, I guess. Because there's no one a lap down, which means there's no waiver rounds. The pit exit will, the pit entry will actually close after a couple of laps. So to make sure that he could be able to do this and get the lucky dog, he rolled through the pits.
Yeah, Brandon's is pretty smart, when it comes to getting that lead lap and be able to pit and get into the pits and get his tires and not get caught up.
Well, it is quite a bit of a 200 IQ move there. We'll have to see if he'll go into the pits this time. I do expect him to go into the pits. And we've also got a change for the lead here with Jonathan Hernandez being in the lead, Evan Rice in P2, Christian Budd dropping down to P3 here with a very slow 14.7 second stop, 1 full second slower than Evan Rice, Matt.
Yeah, I'm just kind of glancing at the pit times that my overlay gives me. It gives it from uh, timing line to timing line. Yeah, it looks like Christian Budd had a slow stop.
Now, there's many factors that could provide a slow stop like that. Could be just something as small as not being lined up properly in your pit box, also being a little bit too crooked. And there's also the sliding through your box and having to back up. But this is still going to put Christian in a good spot there, restarting from P3 behind the leader, Jonathan Hernandez. So we could expect Jonathan and Christian to pull away with this restart, Matt.
Well, the benefit of Christian, yeah, is that he's still on the inside. See how Evan hangs on that outside. He's pretty fast, so let's see if he can hang on fresh tires on that outside. Where so far no one seems to have done it. So, but there's been people running up there, so I'm kind of curious to see if the track is rubbered in enough.
You know, honestly, if I was Jonathan Hernandez, I probably would have picked the outside here. And that's just so there was another car that was sitting in front of Christian, because Christian is going to be his biggest competition in this race. And being as though that Jonathan can choose where he wants to start after the pace car goes to the pits, you want to get an early jump so that way Christian's trapped behind another car. But I guess, that's maybe something that he's probably going to save for later on in the race, maybe. But we'll just have to wait and see, Matt.
Yep, that would be a good strategy. But if you don't get that jump on the start and that inside guy gets a good start, it could cause you some issues.
It very well could. But at the moment, Jonathan Hernandez still in the lead, but Christian Budd looking very fast there, running a slightly higher line than he. So he does file in and go down to the low line this time. These guys at front are putting on an absolute clinic for the rest of the field as we got some battles going on down the pack. The first battle that we're clicked onto here is actually between Frank Isaacson and Christopher Spencer. Christopher up on the inside with the 18 of Brian Beach right behind him. And Blake Treywick, the 24 of Frank Isaacson, stuck on the outside here just a little bit, but he's not exactly losing too much speed compared to those on his inside, Matt.
Nope, looks like he's hanging pretty good, but I think it's just a matter of time. The tires start to wear, and being on that outside, not be able to arc it in as well, it tends to push a little harder for a little more.
Now Jaron Sanchez joins the mix of the cars that are going to go underneath the 24 car there. We also got Dustin German and Iona Shu coming up underneath as well. Iona Shu still recovering from what happened earlier with him being stuck on the outside, only down to 14th at the moment. He's going to make that 13th when he gets around Frank here. But everyone in front of these guys is all single filed out, man.
Yeah, they're running some different lines though. That's kind of interesting. You can see one or two people running a higher line, and other people running pretty low. Must be just where they're comfortable with getting around these corners with the as tight as it.
Speaking of trying different lines, the 51 of Travis Elliott has made the move to the outside, and it has not worked out for him. Christopher Spencer has gone past, and here comes the 18 of Brian Beach as well. So it looks like he's going to be making the long drop back to the pack as well, but there is a huge gap behind Blake Treywick, and he'll probably find himself slotting into that position there in just a second here, Matt.
Yeah, I'd expect to see him to come back down. As the tires wear, I would expect them to go to more of a higher line. Right, oh, Frank and Thomas just got together. And there's some checking up, and doesn't look like there's a yellow flag.
No yellow flag indeed, but that has definitely mired Thomas Harmon down the pack here a little bit. Fallen all the way back to the 24th position, losing 7 there in that little bit of an exchange. In fact, we'll say he's lost 8. He's actually behind the 81 of Corey Williamson. So big issues there for Thomas. Hopefully he can recover from this, Matt.
Yeah, looking back at it, Frank caught the wall going into 3. It bounced him off, and he turned a little bit sideways and just collected Thomas. Thomas managed to save it. He was down on the apron and kept it from spinning. The guys behind kind of checked up, and like Mark Pennicott was sideways for a bit, and a couple other guys, but they all saved it and are going. So hopefully they can catch back up and make up some of that time they lost.
Let's go back in and check in with our leaders to see how they're doing. And Jonathan Hernandez has pulled out to about a half a second lead here over Christian Budd. And Christian Budd has just over a full second away from Evan Rice as well. So these two at the front, definitely showing these guys how to run around Atlanta, Matt.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that they're that big of that gap. And it's hard to say. With Christian, I think he's probably just running a good time for him. So I would guess he's going to work on saving his tires. Jonathan at times can burn up his tires, but I think, you know, as he raced more, he's gotten better at saving them too. So that'll be interesting to see whose tires turn out the best. And it looks like, looks like there's a battle for the lead down there.
Indeed, there is. The 50 of Christian Budd pulling to the inside of Jonathan Hernandez. I reckon he was saving tires while he was just sitting in there behind Hernandez a little bit. just watching and waiting for the perfect moment to use his better tire wear, because Jonathan Hernandez is notorious for burning up his tires. And
Looks like third and fourth are getting pretty spicy too. Keith got inside of Evan for a little bit there, but like I said, Evan's not gonna let you pass easily. So now they're back to nose and tail, but Keith definitely wants to get by.
And we do have a change for the lead now. The 50 of Christian Budd in front of Jonathan Hernandez. And this has actually dragged the guys in behind them a little bit closer. It's only about 0.8 of a second, 0.9 of a second between these guys and the second pack here, Matt.
Yeah, jumping back, it looks like Justin Mattel's up there hounding Keith, so that'll explain why Keith would like to get by Evan.
And Justin with a very beautifully presented car here. Got his Twitch channel name on the side, twitch.tv/JustinBo20. If you guys want to go check him out. But at the moment, Justin looking like he's just taking his time, picking these guys off, waiting until he can latch onto the back of Hernandez later on. He's going to have a tough time as the tyres keep wearing out to try and get around the 14 and the 42 here, Matt.
Yeah, 14's falling back a little bit, so I don't know if it's just adjusting his line so Justin can't get by him, or if his tires are gotten a little warm trying to get past Evan.
Well, it's just one of those situations that we're going to have to wait and see. And speaking of dropping back here a little bit, looks like 88 of Jonathan Hernandez dropping back from Christian Budd a little bit. The gap is out to just over half a second at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, I expect that. I know Christian's most likely taking a little bit easy on his tires, so that might continue to grow as far as that goes.
I think it will, because Christian is notorious in this league for saving his tires and pulling off something amazing, which is definitely what he's doing right now. As we're going to go back through the field here a little bit, we're just going to go and focus on crashes, iRacing crashes, to see where it's going to land us. Landed us on the 90 of Michael Sturgill, who was currently sitting in 17th, just behind Brian Pizzicami, just in front of Brandon Bennett. So let's actually go and have a look at Pizzicami, because he's gone to the inside of Ionishu to try and take away the 15th position. Looks like he's going to have that move made coming up a turn 4 here, Matt.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was back on some other stuff, kind of taking a look back. Some of these other guys that we had usually are up front. I see Thomas's, his times are off. He had damage before Frank got into him, so he might be on a saving strategy, is to take it easy. Either that or his car has issues.
Well, he's in a little bit of no man's land here at the moment. He's got a big gap in front of him and a slightly smaller gap behind him, but still a fairly big gap nonetheless. And he's just, I reckon he might be working on saving his tires here, but he might be working on it a little bit too hard in my opinion, Matt.
Well, I mean, if he thinks that we've gotten the yells out of the way here, which we've done in the past, got a quick, yell and then ran the rest green. That might be the way to go, but yeah, like you said, he's getting pretty far back. I guess, another 15-20 laps, kind of see what the times he's running. See if he's actually gaining on a lot of these guys.
Alright guys, well, while we're in this little bit of a lull in action, we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back we'll be running to the green flag stops, so make sure you stay tuned. And we are back here at the Nexus Inspector 150 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now we're going to need Matt to prove his mettle a little bit here as a commentator, so we're going to let him take over commentating duties just for a couple of minutes while I deal with some stuff here at home. So take it away, Matt.
All right, based on what we got here, we're focusing on looks like the 20 car. Basically on the broadcast, it's jumping around the most exciting. So if it jumps around, apologize for that. We're just trying to get the most exciting racing that's going on the track. Right now, it's a lot of people are just nose to tail. Tires are getting worn, so they're trying to find the line where they're the quickest. Make a small adjustment. So it looks like we have some battles a little bit further back. Jump back up to the 17 car. Christopher Spencer. He's up towards the front in 5th position so far. This actually is Justin Bowe. That his car shows the 20, but for the actual league, Derek Myers is the 20. So we'll have to mention that to him that he needs to get his paint changed. Right now, it looks like the iRacing's focus on Keith Calhoun and Justin Mattel battle, and then a little bit behind them, you have Christopher Spencer. Looks like they're passing a lap car of Mark Benikoff. Mark's a little bit off pace. He was involved in an accident earlier, so I think he has some front end damage. So, but he's good about letting the leaders get by him. Sounds like we have some pit stops, green flag pit stops starting now. Looks like we're still focusing on Chris Spencer and Justin Patel. Not a lot going on. I guess they're all pretty much running their lines. Looks like Justin may be catching up with Evan Rice. Battle for that second position. Now, as we surmised earlier, Jonathan Hernandez has fallen back. I'm guessing he did use up his tires a bit. He's back at 8th currently. So Brian Beach is making a pass for the 7th position. And now we're back to Justin. Looks like it's pretty much stabilized up front there. We've got shows the 18 of Oh. We have Christopher Spencer there, blasted off of 2. Let me see who else got caught up in that accident. Yep, just a slight tap on the wall and it sent him spinning, and he got caught in with the 44 car. That'd be a Clayton Ward, so it would be Christopher Spencer and Clayton Ward were the main casualties in that accident.
Alright, so I am back and we are under caution. I'm just gonna go find where the drama happened.
Yeah, if you focus on Christopher Spencer, you'll be able to pull that up.
We are on it right now. Go back and have a look at what's unfolded here.
Yep, a little bit further back and then turn 2.
Yeah, we got it up on screen now. Christopher Spencer on the outside. And does he get the wall? Just gets the wall. A little bit further down than we're used to seeing people getting the wall there. But that's definitely unsettled him and caused a bit of a kerfuffle here in the mid-packs area. Oh. A 44 car of Clayton Ward, nowhere to go. Unfortunate for both of those drivers. And Clayton Ward almost gives him a double tap just to add insult to injury. Looks like Christopher Spencer getting back out on track quickly here. Clayton Ward 2 laps down. Well, that's unfortunate for Clayton. Looks like Christian Budd missed the hit cycle on the first time round, Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll back here and see what happened there.
We're going up to the front of the pack here. We've got Travis Massia and Brandon Bennett who are in front, but they're going to get some wave arounds here. That's to bring Travis to 2 laps down and Brandon to 1 lap down. But your leader of the race at the moment is Evan Rice with Keith Calhoun in P2 and Jonathan Hernandez in 3rd. Hernandez getting very lucky with these restarts, being starting from 3rd on the restarts or 1st, Matt.
Yeah, there's definitely a benefit of that. It looks like Christian Budd, he actually chose to do that, so I wonder if he wanted to go back and save his tires for this longer. We went green for a long time there, so I'm wondering if he's gonna start him back so he can save his tires a bit more, or he felt he was fast enough, he wanted more of a challenge.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, as we've just gotten the 1 to go signal. Evan Rice, Keith Calhoun, Jonathan Hernandez, Philip Kraus, Brian Beach, Darren Sanchez, Brian Pizzicami, Derek Myers, Dustin German, and Blake Trawick are your top 10 to take the restart here. We're going to have 22 cars on the lead lap, and it's going to be one hell of a restart here, Matt.
Well, shouldn't have to worry about tire spin, they all pit.
Yeah, that's something that I did in a truck race just yesterday. Didn't pit. Was not a good call. Pro tips for you guys out there. As we're coming through turn 3 into turn 4, Evan Rice is going to have control of the restart here with Keith Calhoun on his outside. Can Jonathan Hernandez do something with this and get around the both of them? We'll have to find out right now as the pace car goes in. And Evan Rice is off and racing, so is the rest of the pack. And Evan with a huge restart here. And unable to get down will be Keith Calhoun. Jonathan Hernandez slipping his nose up into that position. And that's going to be Jonathan Hernandez back into P2 if he can. Because Philip Kraus in the 91 car looking very strong down there. We say the 91, but it's actually the 18. Almost caught up in that incident that we just had. But somehow managing to come away with it with just a little bit of netcode contact on his right rear. And now Kraus looking to the inside of Hernandez. Door gets shut on him as Hernandez now looking to the inside of Rice. And he is there. Rice has been put on notice as we're coming through turn 3. 2x2 action for the top 4 spots. Incredible restart here, Matt.
Yeah, definitely that top lane's starting to come in a little bit where they can hang, but it's still going to be, for a while here, it's still going to be the inside line is line one.
As a little bit of trace, we're going to open up the radio waves here to see if the drivers are talking about anything to each other. This is one of the very few current NASCAR series where the drivers can actually talk to each other. Obviously not allowed anymore in real life. But we got it going on here. As now the 42 is under pressure from the 18 of Philip Kraus. 91 in the standings. And it looks like Philip Kraus is going to move his way into turn 2 with a very aggressive slide there coming out of turn 2 to stamp his authority on that second position. You'd think at this point this is where Jonathan Hernandez would be able to run away with this a little bit, Matt.
Well, I don't know about that. He dropped back quite a bit there to 8th before that yellow came out, so...
and we've got some contact in the background. Got a car on the apron. Pizzacami on the apron. Lots of stacking up going on here just behind our leaders. This is from 5th on back. Looks like we got everything sorted out, but the 14 was involved in that incident somehow. Not sure what happened, but I did see him sideways, Matt.
Yeah, let me jump back here to see what transpired back here in the back.
Well, one thing I can say while we wait for you to see that is the 50 of Christian Budd has worked his way back into the top 10 already, which is an absolute immense effort right now. Just been picking them off one by one, and that big checkup that just happened was definitely to his advantage. As now he's working around the outside of the 78 of Brian Pizzacami.
Yep, looking back at it, Keith and Brian Beach just got together going into one. I think Brian expected Keith to already be turning down into the corner, and he wasn't, so they kind of sideswiped each other, and that's what caused all that checkup. Good job by all the drivers, though.
And now here comes Christian Budd trying to work on the inside of Keith Calhoun, the 14 car that we were alluding to earlier. And that is now going to be Christian Budd back up into 8th behind his old sparring partner, Thomas Harmon in the 38, sitting in 7th place at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, when that big checkup there, Thomas got a pretty good jump through there. So did Blake Treywick, so both of them gained 3 or 4 positions just off of that checkup. So that will be helpful. Thomas's car is not definitely fresh looking. It's pretty beat up, but looks like he's still got some decent speed.
Well, it looks like Avril Lavigne has gone on a bender because she's all kinds of bent up. As we go back to the front of the pack, Jonathan Hernandez starting to clear house now. Has gotten out to about a half a second lead over Philip Kraus now, Matt.
Yeah, he's moving along. I don't know if he's. Problem is, you can't tell if he's at this point if he's still pushing hard or if he's starting to take it easy to save those tires. Hopefully, he's taking a little bit easy to save those tires and maintain the gap.
Well, having a look at the last lap times, he was faster than the two guys behind him by 2/10. So I don't think there's going to be too terribly much tire saving going on here for Hernandez. But he's definitely showing the pace right now.
Yeah, he's definitely running faster than most of the, I think all the field at this point.
And this goes back to something that I said earlier in practice, that I think the car in front is going to have the advantage around here, just because there is less air disturbance to stop them up a bit here, Matt.
Yeah, clean air is definitely king at times, and this might be one where it's the best. But then again, you know, once it still comes down to tires here if these guys run another long green flag run. As Christian just got by Thomas.
So that is going to be Thomas down to 8th, Christian up into P7. As now Christian's next target is going to be Blake Treywick. As we start lap 69 of 100, that's 32 laps to go. This is where these guys are going to start to think about pushing a little bit here, don't you think, Matt?
Possibly. I mean, if you're further back, you're gonna have to try and push it to gain positions. It's a long enough run that you could hope, you know, another 10-15 laps, the other guys burn their tires off and you can start gaining positions there, but then you're getting close on limited laps left, so it's tough to say. I mean, you can't hang back too much longer further back. If you're like in the top 10, you might be able to get away with it at this point. The gap isn't that big.
As I saw in the background. Go ahead.
Yeah, Christian's definitely taking an even pace.
Yeah, see, the one thing about Christian is that he might be fast, but he's also saving tires as he's going around. And now, 60's nose up on the inside of Blake Treywick. As I saw in the background, like that Brian Pizzicami was running high to allow Justin Botello to make his way through as well. So we're starting to see the cream rise to the top here, so to speak, Matt.
Yeah, looking at the lap times there, Christian's running the same speeds as Jonathan Hernandez, so tires might be starting to become an issue. These other guys are slowing down, and Christian's actually maintaining and not losing as much time.
And you can see that he's taking his time with this overtake on Treywick. Been working on this inside for about a lap and a half now. And only just squeaked his nose in front as they were coming across the line that time. That's going to be officially Christian Budd up into P6, and now Blake Treywick gives him the advantage of going through. As just in front of them, Dustin German rubbed the wall a little bit coming out of turn 2, Matt.
Yeah, two teammates there, and it looked like a little sketchy, but it looks like they got it together. Just maybe a little bump, but looks like Derek is in front of Dustin German, but Dustin had that damage with Thomas earlier, so apparently the fixes on that his crew did were good, because he's still running up here towards the front.
Indeed he is. Thomas is not exactly going slow here either, especially to hold on to 8th like he is, even with a little bit of a bent Averill. But Christian Budd has now closed in on the back of Dustin German, and he's brought the entire pack behind him with him. Now working on the inside, he's probably going to try and get a 2-for-1 here. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off though. You can definitely try and get the advantage over Dustin German here in a 99 car, as Blake Treywick decides to go to the low line and push Christian through. So he can take advantage of this as well, Matt.
Yeah, Dustin didn't look like he was expecting Christian to get up there quite so fast. He looked like he was going to take a normal line through one and then realize Christian was there. So that probably caused Christian to maybe flip out of the throttle a little bit. But yeah, it didn't take long for him to get back up the Derrick.
But yeah, I think what's more amazing is Treywick using his head here, just following in Christian's tire tracks a little bit, running a little bit higher when they're single file like this. But when it comes to passing someone, he's right there in behind and trying to make the move work as well, Matt.
Yeah, sometimes that works in your favor. You know, a guy gets past you and he's just a little bit faster, but he's fast enough to get under those other guys, and you can just follow him.
Oh,
through.
as Dustin German got loose coming up turn 2 again, I think he might have gotten a little bit of a tap there from the 38 Thomas Harmon. He's down on the apron right now, and I think he might be pulling that to the pits here, Matt.
Nope, he just he got into the wall on his own. Thomas managed to avoid him. He actually took a couple good swipes at the wall, so he might be pulling the plug on it.
And I think he is. We've seen him pull into the end of pit lane and then pull the plug. So that is going to be game over there for Brian Beach, unfortunately. For Dustin German, sorry, unfortunately.
Take a look.
As we're looking at Thomas Harmon, who is now into P6 after getting around Derek Myers as well. And Justin Botello coming up just behind these guys, looking very quick right now, Matt.
Oh, definitely. He's. I think we've had him show up for Atlanta before, and he's always been quick. I think he really likes this track. Looks like the times. He's still a little bit off of like Christian Budd and Rice, but he's been a little bit more traffic. They've been a little bit open right now as far as spacing. So we'll see what when he catches Thomas here, what he can do.
As we see, Derek is dropping back a bit here. Might have burnt up his tyres just a little bit too much. We're going to go back in and check on our leader, Jonathan Hernandez, who is out to over a second lead right now. Not the fastest on track, but he's there or thereabouts with the times. As Kraus and Rice still battling it out a little bit here for P2.
Yeah, the previous lap, Jonathan actually was the fastest by a tenth. So Phillips doesn't look like he's any traffic. So looks like it's gonna be close for these top four as they're running all really close times.
As we've now entered 19 laps to go in this race. Looks like from here it's just going to be Jonathan's race to lose, but we'll have to wait and see. We could still get a late caution here to bunch the field up again, which would definitely throw the cat amongst the pigeons, because everyone would have to pit, you would think, at this stage if a caution was to come out, Matt.
Oh, most definitely. You wouldn't gamble here with that many laps on the tires.
It's just one of those things we're going to have to wait and see. Christian Budd still in fourth, but he's got a long way to go before he catches up to Evan Rice. The tune of about 2.5, 3 seconds, I think that is, which is quite the gap there, you would say. But if anyone can do it, it's Christian Budd, Matt.
Yeah, the tires would have to really be wearing out for these other guys. These top times are so close. You know, they kind of go back and forth who's faster. But we're talking, you know, thousandths of a second and hundreds, not tenths. So with the few laps that are left, Jonathan definitely, if he's taking it easy on his tires, it's his race to lose at this point.
Well, you'd want to hope that he's going to start looking after his tires, because only, just over a second in hand. If these guys do start closing in on him, he's been saving his tyres in any way, shape or form, you can just start pulling away from him again, right?
Yeah, they're, you know, if you can keep him cool, and part of that, you know, he's not dealing with any traffic, so he just takes the line he wants. If somebody comes up to him, you have that little bit extra oomph you can kind of get into to keep him behind you.
As we're going to now turn the driver's channel off so we don't have to listen to them. Not that they were saying too terribly much at this point. Looks like everyone just content to run their own races at the moment. Although we can't say the same for the Discord channel, which we know is usually pretty lit. In these dying laps, Matt, what do the guys usually talk about in the Discord channel?
Sometimes it gets pretty quiet, especially if, you know, like a track where your tires are wearing quite a bit and you're just trying to stay up the walls. Um, some of the guys in the back that are, you know, they got some damage or stuff are usually more talkative, and we try to keep abreast of those guys that are faster, that are in the Discord, and they're coming up, say on your lap car or anything. Let them know where you're gonna go, and that you see them coming.
Yeah, because that's just one of those little things that we don't get to get an insight into because, you know, we have to be in our own separate channel here for the broadcast. They usually get pretty rowdy there in the Discord channel. And it's great to have this little bit of an insight with, you know, a person who's usually within the realms of that area. As we can see, Jonathan actually starting to close in on Brian Harris here, who is the last car on the lead lap in 21st. So very shortly, Jonathan going to have to deal with some lap traffic here, Matt.
I would expect Brian Harris to pull off and let him by pretty quick. Brian's usually pretty good at keeping an eye out when people are coming up behind him. Question is if it throws Jonathan off at all with the air coming off of Brian's car.
And that is what we got to keep an eye on here, as we can see Brian actually running a slightly higher line here to try and not disturb the air too much for Hernandez throughout the corner. But on the straightaway, that could be very different. But Hernandez closing in very quickly here, and Brian staying very wide this time to allow the passage of the leader. But in saying that, Matt, the guys behind him have been catching up.
Yeah, that was... Jonathan just caught Brian at a bad point, and Brian actually scraped the wall there. He couldn't get the run off of 2 that he wanted, so that gave up a little bit of time to these other guys.
And Brian also getting very loose there, coming off of turn 2, just about clipping the tail of Hernandez. That could have been a very bad situation, as we have 10 to go right now. In fact, we've probably got about 9.5 to go as they're going along the back straight. This is where everything's going to start picking up. Philip Kraus is starting to close that gap a little bit here. We'll have to wait and see how this is going to unfold for these guys, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. I was just kind of watching Brian here. It looks like he's struggling quite a bit with the tires he has on this car. He's got some damage, so maybe that affected the handling also, but he's really struggling coming out of 2.
As we see the guys coming out 2, we just saw Evan Rice there getting right up close to the outside wall there, coming off turn 2 as well. This is proof that these guys are starting to push. Let's go and check in with Christian Budd, see how he's doing. Because he is only about a second and a half behind Evan Rice in 3rd. He's just caught up to Brian Harris himself. And Harris balked him a little bit going into the corner, but Harris was trying to stay high to allow him through. But Christian Budd, definitely the class of the field, and one of the fastest guys on track, although we've got some quick times coming from guys towards the back who pitted recently with some fresh tyres. Out of all these guys with old tyres, Christian Budd's definitely catching these guys in front of him here, Matt.
Yeah, but it's far too slow for him to make up that time in the laps that are left. If he can, I just don't see a big change in the tires in that little bit of time for him to catch him.
Well, again, this is just going to have to be a wait and see situation as we're coming down to 6 to go this time around. Jonathan
Uh,
Hernandez.
Philip is definitely catching Jonathan.
Yeah, Philip has just closed in a ton on Hernandez. He's only about 0.3 of a second back. This is some incredible progress. I think those tyres are definitely falling off here for Hernandez, and so maybe not saving as much as we thought he would have been, Matt. As we get a
Oh,
late
yellow
race
flag.
caution. We'll have to try and see if we can see what unfolded here, because I'm not too terribly sure.
Oh, it's Brian Harris.
Brian Harris, oh yep, he's around. See what happened to Brian here. He's letting the 38 of Thomas Harmon through. Oh, and just clips the wall after the tri-oval. Spins back onto the track. Oh, and Iona Shoe with nowhere to go pile drives him in the left rear. And Matt, this caution changes absolutely everything.
Oh yeah, I think Jonathan is extremely happy to see that caution because he's fast on fresh tires. Um, I don't know if Philip hasn't been up there, but Philip should be fast. I mean, all these guys, these top five for sure are gonna be really pushing it. Thomas with the damage, I don't know if his car will have it with fresh tires. Well, even top seven, you got Justin back there, so it's definitely gonna be a interesting set of laps here.
Well, I think the one person at this caution is definitely going to benefit the most is going to be that 50 car of Christian Budd. Fitted in the number one stall. He was not going to be able to catch, even Evan Rice there. But this is going to help him to close up to the rest of the field here.
Yeah, it definitely gives him a shot at the win, whereas it didn't look like he had one. So, depending where he starts, see who he's got to battle it out with if he can get up there. Like they said, there's these guys that are up in the top five are definitely fast.
I'm just having a quick little look through, and I think Derek Myers might have taken 2 tires. He only had a 10.3 second stop. So I think 2 was the call there for the 20 car, who has now made his way into the 4th position, with Jordan Lee peeling off into the pits now. So a lot of strategy at play, and 2 tires with more than 40 laps on those left sides is definitely a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, yeah, he took 2 tires. That, depending on how he was driving it, that left front actually wears quite a bit too. So, I guess I'll keep an eye on him on this restart. It's gonna be tough, I think, to keep that card from sliding up.
Now we've got 3 cars who are staying out for a wave round. There's going to be Aspen Velvin, Travis Massier and Clayton Ward. Going to bring Aspen onto 1 lap down, Travis to 2 laps down, and Clayton to 2 laps down. A couple of these guys who pitted, in fact all these guys pitted within the last 14 laps. So this caution was pretty good timing for them as well. Although they're not going to be able to pit this time and get some fresh tyres. But again, Matt, this is going to be Jonathan Hernandez's race to lose from here, as it looks like we are going to get a natural green-white checker possibly, or this might be one of our 2 attempts at it at the very least.
Yeah, I'm just kind of glancing back at Christian Budd's pit stop. It just looked like his pit crew didn't help him out there.
Yeah, no, I think they were thrown off a little bit because it looked like he slid a little bit deep into his box. They had to take the extra time to run around the car on the front wheels. and the
Yeah,
jack.
he was definitely at an angle there also.
The Christian didn't make it easy for his pit guys, so his pit guys didn't make it easy on him, and that's mired him back in the 7th position. Got Hernandez, Kraus, Rice, Myers, Harmon, Tarwick, Bud, Botello, Pizzakemi, and Sanchez as your top 10.
Yeah, Sanchez came out of nowhere here to get in the top 10.
Good to see Jaron doing so well in a track that he's usually fairly good at. So we'll have to wait and see how his result will be from here. As we're getting ready now, the pace car pulls in. Hernandez waits, and now he goes right at the restart line. He gets an excellent start here, but so does Philip Kraus in the 91 car, 18 on track, who pulls down and holds onto that 2nd position over Evan Rice. That's something that we haven't seen done yet. Now Philip looking to the outside. Thomas sneaking up there. Christian Budd sneaking up there. Christian forced down onto the apron by Thomas, as now Kraus goes to the outside to try and make the move around Hernandez coming out of turn 4. It looks like he's going to have the advantage here, coming off and over the line.
Oh, 3 wide.
We're 3 wide for 4th place, and Kraus and Hernandez.
Contact.
Oh, that's going to be
Thomas saved it.
Thomas. He's still going there, still wrecking. The 18 of Brian Beach just got tapped around. Thomas just got another tap, and we got another big wreck on the back straight. We're going to have to follow on with that later on as we're coming down to the checkered flag here.
Oh, Jonathan. Or not,
and the winner
and
of the race is going to be Philip Kraus, Jonathan Hernandez P2, Evan Rice in 3rd, Christian Budd, great recovery for 4th. And now we're going to have to go back and have a look at this action at the end of the race.
I would just focus on Thomas because he kind of got involved in all of it.
Right, so this is where we're coming to the white flag. Christian Budd sneaking up on the inside of Thomas and Derek Myers to make it 3 wide. Thomas looked like he got tight there up into Derek Myers. Treywick collected him a little bit. Jabo looked like he just went to the apron to try and not hit Thomas. He gets a little bit loose down there, but he saves it. Now Thomas is all but saved it here as well. The 18 of Brian Beach checked up to try and avoid him, and he gets absolutely collected by the 21 car of Brian Chambliss. And what happens here? Because there's more that happens here.
Oh, yeah, just keep watching Thomas.
Thomas gets net coated by the 90. And then just behind them, the 19 car goes around. He takes out Jordan Lee and the 14 car as well of Keith Calhoun. Then he comes back on track. He collects the 18. The 18 gets pushed up in front of some more traffic. That's the 84 and the... can't see that number. Oh, Jaron Sanchez was caught up in this as well. And he got collected by Brandon Bennett. The 81 of Corey Williamson also involved. And the 5 of Mark Pentecoff.
Yeah, the one that 18 got involved with, that was Clayton, the 44.
There you go. And the 13 of Travis Massia also involved. It's almost going to be easier to tell you who wasn't involved. Someone who wasn't involved by the looks of things is the 24 of Frank Isaacson, who came home in 13th after all this shenanigans.
I gotta go back and look and see where he's at on that last lap.
It looks like we're riding on board with Frank right now. He's actually a fair bit behind the pack here, possibly with some engine damage from some shenanigans earlier on. But there is a lot of dead cars in his wake as he makes his way around the pack here.
Frank was in position 20 when he crossed the line for that last lap. He had caught the apron on that restart going into one. So he was kind of sideways and saved it, so he's way back. Then the cars just crashed everywhere. He made it through.
Alright guys, well we got a lot to digest here, so we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we will have driver interviews, so make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty guys, we are back. And it's time for us to reveal our Hard Charger Award winner for the Nexus Inspector 150 here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And today's Hard Charger is also today's third place getter, the 42 of Evan Rice. Evan, excellent race by yourself here today, man. You started in P6 and you stayed there or thereabouts towards the front of the pack for the entire race. What was it like for your perspective?
It was a really fun race. Atlanta's actually my home track, so it was pretty nice to run well for the entire race. And yeah, the first long run, I honestly thought I'd be running like fifth or so, but I think Jonathan really killed his tires early in the run, got out to that big lead, and then he just fell back to like fifth or sixth by the end by the caution. And I think Christian, he decided not to pit on the first lap of the caution because I guess he thought that we wouldn't have enough fuel to make it. So if he stayed out that extra lap, he would have had an advantage. And I mean, it wound up not mattering anyway since the caution came out with just a few laps left. But all in all, it was a pretty fun race to be in.
Now let's talk about when that last caution did come out. You and Philip were pushing pretty hard, actually catching up to Jonathan a little bit. But we also noticed that Christian Budd was starting to just catch up to you a little bit. Were you a little bit worried that Christian was going to be able to catch us there if we went green the rest of the way?
Yeah, I was actually with about 10 or 15 to go. He was closing the gap. It got from like 2.7 to maybe 2 seconds. And so I initially thought he had me, but with about a lap or two before the caution came out, the rate at which he was catching me started to go down. And I thought I honestly had him. I think I would have been in third if the race went green the rest of the way. But yeah, he was definitely closing in on me.
Now, man, you are like what we would perceive to be a rookie here for the Output Racing League because this is your first season racing with us.
Yeah.
But do you want to quickly just give everyone at home a little bit of an idea of your iRacing career so far?
Well, I've been doing sim racing for a while, but I mostly played R Factor, if you know what that is.
Yep.
And mostly did Formula One cars on there until around Christmas time, 2018. I actually started using iRacing for the first time and started doing oval. And it's pretty much been all I've done since then in regards to sim racing. So yeah, I've essentially just been a regular on the service since for about just a little, basically just over a year now.
All right, man. That's all to hear. Matt, you got any questions?
I guess one question is, how much tire saving did you have to do for that long run?
Um, it was definitely crucial. Because like I said before, I remember on the first long run, Jonathan definitely killed his stuff, and so I personally wasn't necessarily saving. I was just kind of being careful. Just I was trying to save the tires, but I wasn't gonna like I wasn't going too slowly. So I was kind of at an in between, I guess you could say. So um, yeah,
Yeah, just making sure you don't scrub them off the corners and stuff.
yeah.
All right, man. Awesome. While we got you up here in the booth, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Um, Shout out to I guess the Splash and Go Discord. I Those are the guys that I talked to during the race. I think Philip was in there, so was Blake and Cosman. Those people who were in the race. So shout out to them because communication is definitely key in league races. So I guess yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming out. Congratulations on third place and the Hard Charger Award. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week at Homestead.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So that was the 42 of Evan Rice, today's Hard Charger, and the third place getter If Discord will let me move him back into the other channel. Coming up next is an old favourite of the league, someone that we don't get to talk to too terribly much, but when we do, it's always an awesome chat. We are, of course, today talking to today's second place getter, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Jonathan, welcome, man. How do you feel after what was a pretty intense finish to what was an incredible race?
I should have turned. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness, it was a pretty good race. Main goal was to get a good finish and lead some laps. Hopefully, secure that most laps led a point, and just get a good finish out of it. I know Atlanta is usually a tough track to race, especially with this package and tire wear. So I struggled early in the race, but bounced back. Had a good finish. Luckily, that caution came out with about 3 to go because I was 2 laps short, and I was about a lap from pitting. And luckily, the caution came out, and restarting from the lead is just Philip had that upper edge on the outside, and I got to give a congrats to him winning his first time here with us. So overall, it was a good race. I'll take second place.
We noticed that you were starting to drop back there on that second run. We were wondering maybe if your tire wear was playing a factor in that, but with it being fuel, that's a whole different kettle of fish that we weren't expecting at all.
Yeah, I learned, I gotta give thanks to Christian because I watched his line earlier in the race when he got by me after I took the lead. I noticed, what line he was running to conserve his tires. I was like, okay, maybe I should do this other than what I was doing. So I managed to conserve my tires very well, and but I noticed about with 15 to go, I was 2 laps short, and I figured everyone else behind me was going to be good to go. So with about 5 to go, I was like, if we don't get a caution by then, I'm going to have to pit and get at least 1 gallon in. And I was about, like I said, a lap away from pitting, and that caution came at no more than a perfect time.
All right, man. Now let's talk about those restarts. We thought that at one point you might have wanted to start on the outside line, with Christian starting back in third, just so you could have another car in between you and him. Did that thought ever cross your mind, or is the outside just too treacherous on the restart for a leader to take that risk?
I did think about it coming to 1 to go, but I was like, man, I restarted on the bottom earlier, and it worked out in that situation. So I just had to stick with what I felt most comfortable with, and that was restarting on the bottom. So initially on the restart, I thought, okay, maybe I could get clear of Philip, and he'll probably duke it back coming to the white flag, but he managed to stay towards my door on the backstretch, and that's what led to that fight coming to the finish. And now I think about it, maybe the outside line would have been a better choice, especially after all that rubber that's been laid in and the track change from compared to earlier. But I just didn't want to risk anything and just screwing it up, so I just decided to stick with the bottom and see where it got from there. And luckily, it came away with a good finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that on that restart, Philip timed it really well, so you didn't get a big jump on him at all. He was still right there. Usually on the restarts, as you know, a lot of times you can get a pretty good, 2-3 car lengths out on people, but he was pretty much right on your bumper when after the restart.
Yeah, and I noticed that too. I saw him, warming up his tires and everything. And when the pace car dropped, he had about a car length behind me. And where I usually restart, I usually don't give this out, but we only come here once. There's a white line that goes across the track right after pit entry, and that's usually where my restart zone is, because that's usually about the time the green flag drops. So that time I decided, I'm just gonna go a bit early, and he must have known that I was gonna go early because he timed it absolutely perfect, and I think that's what threw me off. I was like, man, and I feel like even if I would have started on the outside line, he would have timed it perfect, and then I probably still would end up on the losing edge of it. But you know, I give him props. He was ready for it. He knew how to get ready for it, and it was a good finish.
Yeah, like you said, it's considering you looked like you're gonna have to stop for fuel, and that was gonna really put you way back in the pack. Coming away with a second is kind of like a win.
Oh yeah, especially with the cautions I think we had just about as much as we had last, and that was the mindset coming today is stay away from all the trouble. Just get towards the front, need at least a lap, get the point from that, and just see what happens from there. So just staying out front, almost all race is good preparation for next week. We go to another mile and a half at Texas. But the only difference between that and the Texas and here is, we had the repave over there. So hopefully I could bring some of this strategy that I used over here, maybe some fuel saving also, and carry it over there. Possibly bring this car back over there if it'll pass inspection.
Actually, next week it's at Homestead.
Oh, it's a Homestead, really? I always thought it was Texas. Is it really Homestead?
Yeah,
I
Texas
don't
is the
know.
week after. You're a week ahead of
Okay.
yourself.
Okay.
He's
Well,
looking forward to Texas.
I'm looking forward to Texas. I was telling everyone, I was like, man, Texas next week's gonna be great. We have two sister tracks right after each other. No, but no, with Homestead, especially it being, I don't know if we're gonna run it during the day or night. Regardless, what I can say is you'll see the High Line used there more than here, and I think it will provide great racing as it did tonight. Another mile and a half just shaped differently, and tire wear will probably be a major factor there as much as it did here. And then Texas.
All right, man. Well, while we got you up here in the booth, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out, of course, to you, Corey, and Matt, because I guess he's part of the broadcasting team for for putting on the broadcast. I want to thank Jaron, Brian, and all the admins and the committee that put up this league. It seems like every week now it's getting more and more fun and challenging to race. So having to earn at least a second is what Matt put it best, is at least a win with the field that we have now. So other than that, I'm ready for next week. I'm ready to tackle it. Hopefully get that win now, because I think I don't know where I finished last week. I don't remember. But that win's getting so close and close, and I'm just letting it slip. So hopefully we knock you down next week.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on P2, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. See y'all next week.
Alrighty, guys. So that was the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez, today's second place getter. And now we're going to move on to someone who I think should be very excited. His first win here with the Output Racing League. We are, of course, talking to the 91, the 18 on track, but the 91 of Philip Kraus. Philip, congratulations on your first win here at the Output Racing League. After that restart, you must be absolutely elated with that move that you got around the outside of Jonathan.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it to stick, but I was pretty surprised when it did, because the outside wasn't really the place to be the whole race. I just got a little bit lucky, pinched him down just enough where he had to lift a little bit, and got the move done.
Right, man. Well, coming to that last caution, you and Evan were catching up to Jonathan pretty quickly there. He revealed to us he was a little bit short on fuel. Were you in a kind of similar boat, or were you good to go to the end?
I was good to go to the end. I saved for about the first 3-4 laps after the restart, and after that I didn't really have to save anything. It was just trying to keep the tires on the car.
Matt, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about that restart, because you timed it near perfectly there to stay with Jonathan.
I wouldn't say I did anything particularly good. I just got a bit lucky when I started rolling up on him. He went about when I thought he would, and I was able to stay beside him just because I got about as good of a start as him. And it looked like he might have missed time to shift a little bit in 1 and 2, so I was able to get to his outside, and then I just pulled him down the back and pinched him down.
Well, it was a very interesting race altogether. A couple of long green flag runs broken up by caution periods there. But you were there or thereabouts for most of the race. What was the race like for you as a whole? Especially considering you started down in 18th and had to work your way through the field a little bit.
It was pretty fun. Dirty air was a little bit annoying once you got into a run. About 15, 20 laps in, the dirty air got to the point where you couldn't really make that many moves. But start of the run, we were all pretty close together, and racing was pretty decent, to be honest. Enjoyed it.
Well, that's good to hear, man. Now, next week we move on to Homestead, Miami. Is that a track that's in your wheelhouse a little bit here, or is that a track that you're going to be a little bit unsure about?
I mean, I don't drive it that much, but I enjoy the track a lot, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Big shout out to Splash and Go for all the amazing paint schemes they create for everybody. You should definitely give them a look if you're looking for a car. Make some of the best stuff out there.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations again on your win. Look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yep, thank you.
All right, guys. So that was today's winner, the 91 of Philip Kraus. And that was quite the incredible race. Now, Matt, you're leaving us after this week, going back to becoming a driver now that your suspension will be over. What are your thoughts since going into Homestead?
Yeah, my thoughts are, man, we've got a lot of fast drivers now, so it's, I'm looking forward to see if I can race with them and see how I do at Homestead. With this car, I mean, even just driving in Atlanta here and seeing how different it is at some of these other tracks. Um, Man, I get a handle on Homestead. I might have to get out there and get some practice in ahead of time just to see if I can get in this top 10. Like I said, there's a lot of fast guys now, so definitely got my work cut out for me.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming in and joining me for these past couple of weeks here in the booth. Definitely been an absolute pleasure having you in here. And, who knows, if you get suspended again, I'd greatly appreciate you coming back in to join me again.
Yeah, hopefully that won't happen. We'll see how the races go here. If if I can't pull into the top 16 and compete for the championship there, um, maybe I'll take some of the tracks I'm not really fond of and jump back in the booth here. But definitely on the races there, if you're gonna pull me in from time to time and just bounce some stuff off of me, that's fine. Um, Unless I'm fighting up there in the front, then I might be a little distracted. But if I get damaged or anything, maybe I can do some color commentary off the track.
All right, so in race reporter duties, it is indeed then. Well, thank you again, Matt. It's been awesome having you in here. But guys, this is going to wrap up this broadcast. Thank you all for coming out and watching here, either on Twitch or YouTube. We do greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, if you are watching this on Twitch, you can catch the replay of this race on YouTube first thing tomorrow morning for myself, which is in the early evening in America, around about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And, you can catch the replay also on my Twitch, my personal Twitch, Corey Has No Life 13, tomorrow after the video goes live on YouTube. So we look forward to seeing you guys then, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week when we go and tackle Homestead Miami Speedway. So until then, make sure you're safe out there, and, don't let all the coronavirus crap get you down. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's all just shit. And that's my one for the broadcast. See you guys next week.